Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 247. Without any delay, start explanation. In the following week, Tang Wuyue had been following Long Yushue as he collected more information about the abyssal creatures. There was a lot that he had to learn about these beings from another plane. For example, he had to understand the different races, their different talents, unique ways of combat, as well as the important points regarding battling in the tunnel. Every little thing was extremely crucial. However, to Tang Wuyue, such training was easy. If all he had to do was gather knowledge, he could make short work of it with the power of his memory and comprehension. Long Yushue was astonished to notice that this fellow was not only a handsome and powerful warrior, but his mind was also very focused. He seemed to be able to memorize everything that she said in no time. He was also able to infer other things from one fact and ask questions that she never thought about. She even had to consult her father about some of the details before she was able to give him the correct answers. After that week, the two of them had become more familiar with each other, and Tang Wuyue had a clearer understanding of the Blood God Army's condition. Although the Blood God Army was referred to as an army, its forces were only divided into two divisions. One of them was the Blood Division. Their name meant that they would draw blood and fight until the very end, never retreating even if it meant throwing away their lives. The main responsibility of the Blood Division was to engage the abyssal creatures in direct combat. Xu Weitao was the Blood Division's commander. The other division was the God Division, which comprised specialist units. It included the Mecha Combat Unit, a unit that specialized in operating heavy arms and defenses, and various soldiers who served auxiliary purposes during combat. Although there were only two divisions in the entire army, there were 5 regiments within each division, and could be regarded as authorized independent divisions. Although the number of people whom Tang Wuyue met was few and far in between, the actual number of soldiers in the entire Blood God Army, combat personnel and logistics personnel included, was 25,000. Though they were not as numerous as a standard army, they were all the elite of the elite. Usually, great armed forces, such as the North Sea Army Corps, were made up of at least 3 armies, which meant they were 100,000 men strong. Since the Blood God Army could form a fighting force with just 25,000 men, one could imagine its importance and true power on the battlefield. Long Yushue had proudly told Tang Wuyue earlier that if they deployed them in actual combat, the Blood God Army could definitely crush any other army the Federation had. The harsh conditions and ample combat opportunities here had shaped this army until it truly resembled a blood god, so formidable was their combat prowess. The Secret Service, which Tang Wuyue was under God Division's jurisdiction, but it was not included within the division's 5 regiments. It was directly under the command post and cooperated with the Army's research laboratory. They mainly carried out missions that could not be done by the combat unit. Relatively speaking, they were at a higher risk. Hence, those who were able to join the Secret Service were definitely the best of the best. Basically, you understand everything about the abyssal race. What's left is for you to experience what you've studied in actual combat. For the next special training, I'll take you to see how the combat unit fights. You must blend in as soon as you can. Although we're from the Secret Service, you'll end up in a combat unit sooner or later. It'll be beneficial for your future career advancement if you familiarize yourself with the way they fight, Long Yushue said to Tang Wuyue. All right. When shall we go? Tang Wuyue asked eagerly. Long Yushue replied, let's go tomorrow. By the way, how's your forging room coming along? Don't you disappoint me. I've bet all of my fortunes on you. As the saying went, the boxer's fist must stick to its task, and the singer's mouth no rest shall ask. As a blacksmith, it would be a great loss for him if he could not practice forging just because he was in the army. However, it was not easy for him to find a forging room. The Blood God Army was stationed deep within the endless mountains. Resources here were scarce. There were only 3 forging rooms in the army, and they were used exclusively by the official blacksmiths. They were mainly engaged in mecha maintenance. Tang Wuyue had higher requirements for a forging room. For example, he wanted the best forging table and various auxiliary equipment. He had brought many rare metals himself. What he needed next was enough space for him to actually forge. Without a doubt, he was clearly unable to accomplish all this since he had zero military gallantry. The person whom he was familiar with and was able to help him was none other than the person who stood before him now. Long Yushui had generously spent her military gallantry. With the addition of her network in the army, she assisted Tang Wulin in building this forging room. However, her request was not for Tang Wulin to repay here with interest in the future. Instead, she wanted to be a shareholder with her investment, owning 50% of the shares. In the future, the merits which Tang Wulin earned through forging would be divided equally between them. With his stingy personality, Tang Wulin would never have agreed to these terms if it were anyone else. However, he was a newcomer here and a stranger to everything. Besides, Long Yushui genuinely wanted to help him. He could also tell that when Long Yushui said that she wanted to be a shareholder, it was clearly because he had zero military gallantries right now, and she did not want him to be unable to be promoted after earning merits. Good deeds must be repaid with kindness. Otherwise, who would be interested in doing good deeds? Long Yushui's network was sufficient to help Tang Wulin quickly expand his market. With these conditions, Tang Wulin practically agreed immediately. Long Yushui had named their forging workshop Longtang Workshop. Tang Wulin replied, "The workshop is ready, boss, so you can start receiving orders. As long as it's about forging, I can do it. Of course, only if the price is reasonable, and we only do business in merits. You can decide on the fees. Just charge according to the difficulty of the forging." "All right." Long Yushui smiled and said, "I'll find something for you to do before starting any actual combat. At least you can earn some pocket money. Are you free in the afternoon? I have a job for you right now. Servicing mechas and weapons cost a soldier his own merits. We'll charge less than the Army's service workshop, and I guarantee that our business will bloom. But just how good are your forging skills?" Tang Wulin smacked his own chest. "That won't be a problem. I can vouch for the quality and speed. I'm not afraid of too much work." "All right, then you should go prepare now. We should at least let you earn enough merit so that you'll have enough to buy your own meals," Long Yushui said as she walked out of the room. Tang Wulin said with a smile, "Then you'll have to find more business because I eat a lot." The two of them conversed happily and parted ways after they had exited Long Yushui's dorm. Tang Wulin was about to have a look at his forging workshop and make final preparations when someone blocked his path. He had the insignia of a lieutenant colonel on his shoulder. Jiang Wuyue's gaze toward Tang Wulin was clearly slightly hostile. He had noticed that Tang Wulin had been frequenting Long Yushui's dorm recently. Although his younger sister had already found out for him that this was mainly due to Tang Wulin training under Long Yushui as a new recruit, Jiang Wuyue still felt uneasy about it. There were many dynasties in the Blood God Army. The so-called dynastic families were those whose ancestors were also soldiers here. Their children had followed their footsteps for generations. Naturally, they formed military dynasties. These families had high statuses in the Blood God Army. For example, the Long family, which Long Yushui was from, had 100 members in the army. Jiang Wuyue and Jiang Qiue's Jiang family was also the same. Their families had a close relationship. Jiang Wuyue had liked Long Yushui since he was a child, but he had had the nickname of Slug, possibly because he always had a runny nose when he was little. Long Yushui disliked him very much, and she had always been cold to him. Now that they were all grown up and at the age where they were supposed to form their own families, Jiang Wuyue's heart grew heavier. However, Long Yushui was as cold as ice and prickly as a porcupine. He had absolutely no chance of getting close to her. Tang Wulin had only been here for a short period, but Jiang Wuyue could already see that the smile which he was not able to see even once a year had already appeared for Tang Wulin a handful of times. How could he not be unbearably envious of this? "Tang Wulin," Jiang Wuyue called out with a deep voice. "Good day, senior officer." Tang Wulin stood at attention and saluted Jiang Wuyue. "It's fine. Enough with the niceties. I'm not talking to you as a senior officer now, but man to man," Jiang Yu said with a lowered voice. Every inch of Tang Wulin knew exactly why Jiang Yu was there. He could not help but smile. So what business do you have with me? Jiang Wuyue went straight to the point. I've liked Yushue for many years now. I'd like to challenge you to a one-on-one battle. If you win, I'll leave her alone. If you lose, he scratched his head as he thought about this, but he could not find the words. Tang Wulin had thought that he would say that he wanted him to leave Long Yushue alone if he lost. Jiang Wuyue mumbled to himself, Yushue is not an object, so I don't think we can just give her away to each other. Forget it. I just don't like you. Let's just fight it out without talking about anything else. I want to beat you up. It's that simple. Do you have the guts? We'll do it in the battle room. Tang Wulin almost burst out in laughter. This fellow was honest to a fault. Senior officer, first let me tell you one thing. I have a girlfriend. Senior Officer Long and I are just friends. We don't have the kind of relationship that you think. Next, Senior Officer, if you really want to beat me up, I won't particularly be against it. I won't even hit you back. 100 merit points for one punch. How does that sound? Jiang Wuyue was stunned. You have a girlfriend? Then, his expression instantly turned fierce. Boy, you can't be thinking about stepping on two boats with one foot. Tang Wulin was not sure if he should laugh or cry. It was really taxing talking to such a frank person. All right, Senior Officer. I'll fight you. But since we shouldn't use Senior Officer Long as the stakes, we can't just simply fight. We'll bet with merit points. How's that? I'll let you set the amount. Jiang Wuyue raised his eyebrows and said, merit points. Do you have any to begin with? Tang Wulin replied, just because I don't have any now, that doesn't mean that I won't have any in the future. You see, I've been given the rank of second lieutenant even though I just got here. That proves that I have some potential. If I lose, I'll earn some merit points to pay you back in the future. Jiang Wuyue thought about it. All right, I'll pay for the battle room. Then I'll wager 1,000 merit points with you. Are you game? Tang Wulin said, 1,000 sounds a bit too small, don't you think? If he wanted to be promoted from a second lieutenant to a first lieutenant, he would need 10,000 merit points. How could he earn 10,000 merit points? With abyssal creatures such as 4-clawed bats, killing a single one would earn him 10 merit points. He needed to kill 1,000 of them. Whereas abyssal creatures such as Ban would earn him 2,000 merit points. If he did it by fighting in a squad of many, the Blood God army had its own unique system. The merit points would be distributed based on the contributions of each member during the battle. You think 1,000 is little? You've just joined us, and you might not even earn it in 2 or 3 months. Young boy, are you planning to lose even your underwear? Said Jiang Wuyue pointedly. When they ate together the other day, Tang Wulin had gobbled down more than 3,000 of his merit points. His heart still ached when he thought about it. Tang Wulin said, all right then. He did not wish to bully an honest man. He would make do with less. Jiang Wuyue's soul power was about the rank of 6 rings. The only 6-ringed opponent who truly gave Tang Wulin a hard time was Long Yu, so he was confident of taking on Jiang Wuyue. Let's go. Jiang Wuyue was definitely a go-getter. He sprinted to the Blood God Army's living quarters, bringing Tang Wulin along with him. The so-called living quarters was a very large house. The rooms inside were all interconnected. When they were not carrying out missions, this was where the Blood God Army soldiers trained, entertained themselves, and relaxed. There were various amenities inside. Of course, there were also battle rooms which simulated actual combat. Because it was still morning, there were not many people in the living quarters. There were only a few soldiers who were training or relaxing. The cost of renting the battle room was 50 merit points an hour. Everything here had to be paid for with merit points. The objective was to motivate the soldiers to fight bravely. Jiang Wuyue swiped his metal bracelet on the battle room's door, and 50 merit points were automatically deducted. Tang Wulin had such a bracelet as well. It was called a Blood God bracelet and was a very convenient device. It could store the soldier's personal information and record the number of merit points earned directly after killing an abyssal creature, so it was fair. Within the Blood God army, all transactions were made via this Blood God bracelet. The Blood God bracelet could even be connected to one's body's own conditions. If a soldier was injured or sick, the bracelet would inform the headquarters immediately so that treatment or help would be sent. The combat room was quite large at 100 meters in diameter. In the snowy Endless Mountains, it was not easy to build such a combat room. 50 merit points for an hour was a reasonable price. Other factors aside, the internal barrier alone consumed a large amount of energy. Jiang Wuyue removed his outer jacket. He walked up to a panel and activated the barrier. Tang Wulin removed his jacket as well, and his gaze became more wary. Regardless of what he thought of his opponent, he would never underestimate them. This was a habit he had formed throughout the years. It was also a specialty of Shrek Academy's students. Jiang Wuyue's aura also changed instantly. He wore his heart on his sleeve, but once he entered his battle mode, his entire person resembled a lion that was ready to pounce at its prey. His bearing was focused, and he stared at Tang Wulin with a fixed gaze. "Are you ready?" Jiang Wuyue shouted at Tang Wulin. "I'm ready." Tang Wulin was in a natural stance. His eyes glared at his opponent. Ding ring ring. At that moment, there was suddenly a bell-like ringing sound coming from Jiang Wuyue. His face immediately turned bashful. He raised a hand to signal a pause. "I'm sorry, I have to take this." "Chiyue? What's the matter?" "Me? I'm in the combat room, sparring with one of my brothers." "What? You're coming?" "It's not anything fun." "Don't come." All right, little ancestor. I can't afford to provoke you. But you must keep this as a secret." Jiang Wuyue ended the call with a helpless expression. "Chiyue wants to come and see our fight no matter what. I can't afford to cross this young girl, because I'm afraid that she'll tell on me when she gets back. I'm sorry, but please wait for a while." Tang Wulin could not help but find this funny. This fellow seemed to be terrified of his younger sister. It was not long till Jiang Chiyue dashed in. Her eyes bulged when she entered the combat room and saw that Jiang Wuyue's opponent was Tang Wulin. "I say, brother, what are you doing? He's just a new recruit and you're challenging him?" "Oh, I get it. You're jealous, aren't you? Do you have any humanity in you? What if you did some permanent damage to this handsome young man?" When Jiang Wuyue said those words, he was frank and outspoken, but when the words came from his sister's mouth, he blushed bright red. "Chiyue, talk softer. Don't worry. I know my own limits." Besides, he agreed to this. "You can ask him if you don't believe me. You agreed to fight my brother? Although I've heard you Shue mention that you're quite skilled, my brother, this lieutenant colonel, has earned his status through his own efforts. You can't do it. How old are you? What's your cultivation base? My brother is regarded as the successor to the blood division by Uncle Shu." Jiang Chiyue's small mouth was like a machine gun. She fired words rapidly. Tang Wulin said, "I volunteered for this. I can only improve in actual combat by training." Jiang Chiyue said pointedly, "I think you're just looking to be beaten up." "Oh well, if you're willing, then so be it. I'll be the judge," she said as she walked toward the periphery. When she sauntered past Tang Wulin, she whispered softly to him, "My brother's martial soul is the Overlord dragon. You must be careful. It's a very powerful martial soul, the greatest of the strength system. Since you've helped me save some money the other day, take this as my repayment. We don't owe each other anything after this." After she had finished, she exited the combat room. The Overlord Dragon Martial Soul? Tang Wulin was truly shocked, not because the opponent's dragon-type martial soul was suppressed by him. On the contrary, the Overlord Dragon Martial Soul could not possibly exist under ordinary circumstances. He could not help holding Jiang Wuyue in high esteem upon listening to Jiang Chiyue. It was rather interesting that his martial soul could mutate to such a level. Tang Wulin possessed the Overlord Dragon Spirit Soul, So he was well aware of how powerful the Overlord Dragon was naturally. He was not sure he could defeat the Overlord Dragon Soul Master with a 6-ring Soul Emperor cultivation base if not for his bloodline. All right. Are you ready? Jiang Wuyue's voice was heard over the loudspeaker. Begin. Jiang Wuyue's left foot stepped on the ground and gave out a deafening loud roar following Jiang Wuyue's announcement. He plowed toward Tang Wulin akin to a bulldozer. Jiang Wuyue's body began to swell up at full speed when he was dashing forward. He had only taken a few steps forward when his height had already exceeded 7 meters. He was like a humanoid beast. The skin on his upper body turned metallic black as the pieces of thick and heavy scales covered his entire body with metallic ore. His eyes turned red while his overbearing aura warped the air around his body. Soul rings arose from underneath his feet. 4 purple and 2 black, befitting his status as a 6-ring Soul Emperor. Moreover, his soul rings complemented one another in a rather powerful manner. If a beast soul was perfection, then he was close to perfection. Even Yuanen's Titan Giant Ape Martial Soul could not necessarily triumph over him in a trial of pure strength. He was a lieutenant colonel and battalion commander of the Blood God Army. Surprisingly, he possessed such impressive powers. It made Tang Wulin appreciate the Blood God Army even more. Jiang Wuyue did not use his soul ring ability, but he suddenly took a huge step forward and rose into the air before he pounced on Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin's eyes were also glowing at this moment. Since he was fighting against an opponent of pure strength, he could win by using his own strength to counter his opponent. For golden soul rings arose from underneath his feet at full speed while golden scales covered his entire body simultaneously. Tang Wulin's aura soared instantly as the Golden Dragon King bloodline's fluctuation bloomed outward without the slightest reservation. Jiang Wuyue, who had pounced forward, sensed Tang Wulin's aura. His initial overbearing aura vanished abruptly. His 7-meter-tall figure immediately shrank to 6 meters. His blood-red eyes were filled with disbelief. At this moment, Tang Wulin was already upon Jiang Wuyue. His right golden dragon claw was clenched in a fist and collided with Jiang Wuyue's fist. Boom! The violent collision shook through the entire battle room. Tang Wulin was shaken until he fell from the sky while Jiang Wuyue was blasted away for meters before he crashed onto the ground. Oh! Jiang Wuyue's voice was heard echoing through the loudspeaker. She was shrieking aloud. Jiang Wuyue lost during the handshake trial of strength the other day. However, Jiang Wuyue assumed that her brother's loss was only because he had not unleashed his Overlord Dragon Martial Soul. Once it was unleashed, his strength was absolutely peerless in the world. Yet, the scene before her at this moment told a different story. Little did she know that Tang Wulin was feeling just as surprised at present. The Overlord Dragon was the Golden Dragon King bloodline's descendant. Although it was not a true dragon, it was bequeathed with the Golden Dragon King bloodline. It was affected by Tang Wulin's bloodline just like how the Overlord Dragon Spirit Soul had pledged its allegiance to Tang Wulin's Golden Dragon King bloodline back in the beginning. Hence, Tang Wulin thought that Jiang Wuyue would be defeated easily in a hand-to-hand fight. He could tell from the situation that his bloodline was affecting Jiang Wuyue. Tang Wulin realized that the strength radiating from Jiang Wuyue's hand during the collision just now was at least 100,000 kilograms. Not that Tang Wulin's bloodline suppression was ineffective, but Jiang Wuyue's will to fight was indomitable. Jiang Wuyue used his immense will to fight to neutralize a portion of Tang Wulin's bloodline suppression effect. Jiang Wuyue got up from the ground apparently unharmed. The Overlord Dragon had a reputation for its body's resilience and strong defense as well. However, Tang Wulin's irresistible terrifying strength had managed to shock Jiang Wuyue deeply. Jiang Wuyue had never encountered any of his peers whose strength exceeded his. He could still console himself after losing to Tang Wulin in the handshake trial because neither of them was using their martial souls at the time. In this case, he had already devoted all his effort, yet he remained far from being Tang Wulin's worthy match. He was even more surprised to find that the martial soul and bloodline that he had always been so proud of was suppressed by the new recruit. He could even feel that his bloodline was stunned when Tang Wulin unleashed his Golden Dragon King aura earlier, that he felt like giving in to Tang Wulin. He had exerted all his strength to elevate his will to fight. Only then did he manage to resist with great effort. What is his martial soul when his soul ring is golden in color? Tang Wulin noticed that Jiang Wuyue had stood up, so he dashed toward Jiang Wuyue in a flash. It was rare for him to meet a worthy opponent, especially one who is capable of resisting his strength with great effort. Under his control, the blood essence vortex in Tang Wulin's body was spinning at high speed and flowing down to his lower limbs. Strength radiated to his left foot instantly. The entire battle room echoed with a deafening roar just as his foot stepped on the ground. The protective shield outside the battle room shook violently and rippled with a layer of radiance. Obviously, the protective shield was tested to its limits. In the meantime, Tang Wulin's body was elevated to an unprecedented level under the effect of his terrifying strength. Ever since his fight with the Momai the other day, Tang Wulin became prudent with regards to his speed. Once, when Miyi was teaching him about the body sect's technique, he told him that a body sect's disciple would need to learn how to control his body. A soul master's type and system no longer mattered in a battle when a person could exercise complete control over his body because the body sect's technique could guide one's soul power to merge with the body's strength, which can then be utilized in all situations. Under Mu Yi's tutelage, Tang Wulin cultivated not just a portion of his body but the whole body. The sensation was obvious, especially after he possessed the blood essence vortex. Meanwhile, he was trying to see how fast he could be if he devoted all his effort into it. His blood essence vortex sank when all his blood essence power rushed into his left foot just now. At the same time, as he took a step forward with his left foot, he felt a little sore and a slight pressure in his left foot. It was apparent that his left foot was withstanding the blood essence power that was overly powerful. Jiang Wuyue heard the echo of the deafening roar on the outside of the battle room. She watched in bewilderment as a streak of golden lightning struck the inside of the battle room. In the next moment, Jiang Wuyue, who had just stood up and unleashed his third soul skill, was blasted away by the golden lightning akin to an exploding bomb hitting its target. He hit the wall on the other side of the battle room and was stuck firmly against the wall. Tang Wulin appeared at the spot where Jiang Wuyue was standing earlier as he lowered his head to look at his fist. He discovered in astonishment that his strength had increased when he elevated to his top speed. His speed was directly proportional to his strength. His high speed increased the momentum force and coupled with his strength provided a formidable force that would be even more powerful if he had complemented the attack with the golden dragon source to the heaven instead of his fist. Jiang Wuyue's body glided down slowly. Blood was flowing out from his mouth and nose at the moment while his mind remained blank. He felt as if he had been rammed by a Soul Express train from the front and his entire body blown to smithereens. He had already used his third soul skill known as the Overlord Dragon Body such that his defense and strength were both elevated considerably. Currently, the opponent's bloodline aura was invading his bloodline intensely while the feeling of submission in his body was growing more obvious. It was even attempting to break down his will to fight. He had never felt as defeated as he was now. His loss was related to the fact that he underestimated his opponent. Furthermore, his opponent was so young. Why was he being so presumptuous of his opponent, who is part of the outstanding younger generation of the Blood God Army? How could Tang Wulin's strength be so terrifying? Meanwhile, Jiang Wuyue saw the fourth golden soul ring on Tang Wulin's body suddenly glowed. Oh no! Jiang Wuyue cried out in her heart as she hastily shouted into the loudspeaker, "Stop! Don't fight anymore." Jiang Wuyue had been beaten woefully by Tang Wulin during the two attacks. Tang Wulin had not even used his golden soul ring's strength yet. At present, he was about to use his strongest soul ring. How could Jiang Wuyue possibly withstand it? However, Jiang Wuyue watched as Tang Wulin's lips cracked into a smile. A golden halo rippled away from underneath his feet and spread outward swiftly. Step by step, Tang Wulin walked in Jiang Wuyue's direction. Soon, the golden halo with complex striations appeared underneath Jiang Wuyue's feet and enshrouded him. Precisely at that moment, an extremely loud and sonorous dragon's roar broke out from Jiang Wuyue's mouth. The spine on his majestic body straightened instantly. His heavy and thick black scales abruptly turned golden while the submission and fear he felt earlier vanished during that split second. His mind was now filled with extreme excitement. Jiang Wuyue felt as if the blood in his body was boiling. His soul power increased exponentially. He had never felt this powerful before. He even felt that he could pull down the heavens if it had a handle or pulled up the ground if there was a hoop. Roar, 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 a series of raging roars escaped his mouth. The dark golden color on his body grew brighter until his entire person was enshrouded by a layer of dark golden gloss. Even his 6 soul rings were misted with a layer of faint golden radiance. He took a glance at the scales on his body. His initial Overlord dragon scales were uneven, but the scales were undergoing changes till they became well-defined. The scales took on the form of diamonds while the dark golden gloss had a texture to them now. Jiang Wuyue felt at ease when he sensed the potent surges from his body. He felt confident enough to tear apart a BA and if one were to appear before him now. Tang Wulin discovered that all his 4 Golden Dragon King soul skills had evolved after he broke through the 9th layer of the Golden Dragon King seal. It was unprecedented. The most obvious evolution was his 4th soul skill, the Golden Dragon Rage Domain. The elevation of the domain more than doubled with its effect becoming even more powerful. Jiang Wuyue could clearly sense the change due to his Overlord Dragon bloodline which was in close proximity to the Golden Dragon King. As a result, his power was elevated by more than 50%. He went from being suppressed to being elevated. The sudden turn of events overwhelmed him. The golden halo retracted then vanished. Tang Wulin spoke to Jiang Wuyue, "Sir, that's all for today." The strength that had increased exponentially in Tang Wulin's body immediately vanished without the golden halo's enhancement. His scales returned to normal while his aura reduced soon after. The pain he suffered from the collision earlier had disappeared because of the halo's appearance. What kind of ability is that? Why does it make me feel like I've become so much more powerful? Jiang Wuyue looked at Tang Wulin with a blazing gaze. He had completely forgotten that the youth before him was his love rival. As a member of the Blood God Army, he revered Tang Wulin's strength so much so that he was enthralled by his capability. Tang Wulin smiled and spoke, "I think it's possibly because our bloodlines originated from the same source." He could not summon his Overlord Dragon Spirit Soul now because there was no way it could fit into the space available. Same source of bloodline? What's your martial soul? Jiang Wuyue asked in puzzlement. Tang Wulin replied, "It's just my bloodline and not related to my martial soul." Jiang Wuyue looked confused. "That's not right. I can tell from your aura that you're more than just a 4-ring. Yet, why are there only 4 rings on you, and they're all golden?" Tang Wulin spoke with a bitter smile, "It's complicated to explain. That's not a soul ring, but it's an ability from my bloodline. My martial soul is something else." It was apparent that he was not going to elaborate further. Jiang Wuyue spoke, "How long can your final ability last?" Tang Wulin answered, "It's not an issue to go on for half an hour." Jiang Wuyue's eyes brightened. Half an hour? He recalled the feeling he experienced earlier of how his power was elevated to a level beyond his imagination. Moreover, he thought about Tang Wulin's close-range combat ability which had unfolded before his eyes. It made him view Tang Wulin differently. Tang Wulin felt slightly uneasy as he sensed Jiang Wuyue's burning gaze. "Sir, look. Regarding that 1,000 merit points." "Yes. I'm giving it to you at once." Jiang Wuyue wrapped his arm around Tang Wulin's shoulder. He then raised his bracelet and operated on it for a moment to transfer 1,000 merit points to Tang Wulin. "Brother, all that happened prior to this was in the spirit of elevating our martial souls, right? You said that you have a girlfriend already, didn't you?" Jiang Wuyue spoke affectionately. Tang Wulin could not bear to tell him that they were actually not that close. So, he only nodded and replied, "That's right. I have a girlfriend and we're getting along in our relationship." "Then it's all a misunderstanding. Brother, I don't think that the Secret Service is suitable for you. Why don't you come over to my section? It's not difficult to accumulate military merits with your abilities. I'll encourage our brothers from the 1st Iron Blood Battalion to support you. I assure you that we'll assist to get you promoted as a captain within a year at most, so you can be the deputy battalion commander. What do you think? Moreover, if you're willing to come to our side, I'll immediately make arrangements for you to be the captain for our main link. Although your military rank may be low, our battalion takes into account a person's abilities. Who would dare oppose you when you're even capable of defeating me? Become the deputy battalion commander in a year? It's only a rank below the major, right? Tang Wulin's interest was immediately aroused. Meanwhile, the door to the battle room opened and in walked two people from the outside. Very well. Jiang Wuyue, how dare you snatch away my man? The person walking in front was not Jiang Wuyue but Long Yushue, who came rushing over upon hearing the news. Jiang Wuyue dialed Long Yushue's number when she found Tang Wulin and Jiang Wuyue were about to fight. She was appreciative of Tang Wulin's kind gesture for not eating a full feast using her military merits the other day. However, when Long Yushue met them, she saw that they were quite amicable with each other, with Jiang Wuyue attempting to entice Tang Wulin with his offer. Jiang Wuyue immediately lost his cool as soon as he noticed Long Yushue's presence. He hastily smiled apologetically and said, "Yushue, I don't mean that. Look at Brother Tang's impressive close-range combat ability. It's truly a waste of good talent if he doesn't come over to join our side." Long Yushue gave a cold scoff. "I'll be reporting to Senior Shu later about how you're making promises on awarding positions in private. You can land yourself in serious trouble. Moreover, Wulin has just joined the army and is still not familiar with everything here. Our secret service similarly needs a talent like him. So, he won't be going over to the combat unit anytime soon. Our secret service has a bigger purpose for him. You must first go through me before you try to recruit any of my men." Jiang Wuyue would perhaps have rolled up his sleeves in preparation for a fight had it been another person. In this case, he could not do anything when he was confronted by Long Yushue. He raised his hands helplessly. "Sure. I surrender. I won't be taking your staff anymore." Long Yushue pulled Tang Wulin away from Jiang Wuyue's arm. "Let's go." Tang Wulin was pulled out from the combat unit straight away. Jiang Wuyue looked at Tang Wulin differently even now. She gazed after their departing figures. She turned around but could not refrain from asking her brother. "Brother, was Tang Wulin's strength so terrifying? Why did it seem like you couldn't even resist him?" Jiang Wuyue spoke with a distressed expression. "I don't know what happened either. The aura on his body seemed to have an innate ability to suppress me. We weren't fighting actually. I think I can fight him if I were to devote all my efforts together with my battle armor's strength, but it seems like he wasn't putting in his all as well. I don't have the confidence to triumph over him though." "Do you know how old he is?" Jiang Wuyue answered, "I think he's 21 years old. I've heard Sister Yushue mentioned it before." Jiang Wuyue's expression immediately turned quizzical. Even in the Blood God army, where there was no lack of extraordinary talent, he was considered one of the brightest of the younger generation, but he was already 28 years old. Their age difference of 7 years would not ensure that he could defeat the opponent. The disparity was truly too great. A soul master's growth and development was fastest before the age of 30. One's cultivation speed would nosedive after one's body became aged and lacked genetic elevation. Thus, almost all title d'honneur rank powerhouses built their firm foundations before 30 years of age. The greatest had managed to achieve an 8-ringed cultivation base or even managed to become title d'honneurs before 30. Jiang Wuyue was very confident that he could cultivate to the rank of title d'honneur in the future, but he would be at least 40 before that could happen. On the other hand, Tang Wulin's inner secret gave the impression that he was truly capable of reaching title d'honneur rank before he reached 30. The boy could certainly rocket to the top position in the army if he could develop himself well. "What happened?" Long Yushue asked furiously as she pulled Tang Wulin out of the battle room. Tang Wulin spoke, "You just left when I was brought here by Senior Officer Jiang. Nothing much happened. We've only been sparring for a while." Long Yushue looked at Tang Wulin in a skeptical manner. "Really?" Tang Wulin nodded. He found himself rather fond of Jiang Wuyue's character, especially after he learned of Jiang Wuyue's Overlord dragon martial soul. As a result, he was helping Jiang Wuyue keep some secrets. Long Yushue scoffed coldly. That fellow has always been acting imprudently. Don't pay too much attention to him in the future. Are you injured? It's okay. I'm fine. Senior Officer Jiang was going easy on me, Tang Wulin spoke with a faint smile on his face. Long Yushue had not seen the battle. She snorted before she spoke, that fellow is only good at using brute force, but you're just the same. Both of you belong to the same system. No wonder he values you so much. But remember that you're part of our secret service, okay? Yes, sir. Long Yushue spoke, I've just found you a customer when I was called by Chiyue. Go to the forging room now. The customer is already there. Great. Tang Wulin was still extremely enthusiastic about earning merit points right now, as his goal was to be promoted as soon as possible. The forging room was located on the same side as the living area. It was different from a battle room because it was located in a rather secluded area on the other side. The soundproof insulation here was limited, so such a spot was chosen in order to reduce the noise pollution. Long Yushue said to Tang Wulin as she was walking, I've invested all I have for you. Don't agree too quickly if you can't fulfill the customer's request. Don't ruin your reputation by damaging the item. Then there would be nothing I could do to help you anymore. Sure. Tang Wulin did not elaborate too much because he believed that the facts would speak for themselves. As expected, someone was already waiting by the door when he arrived at the forging room. It was a female officer that appeared to be 30 years old with a lieutenant colonel rank pinned to her shoulder. She was gentle and appeared friendly, though not especially beautiful. Sister Lu Ni, Long Yushue called out to her affectionately as she took 2 steps forward swiftly and wrapped her hands around the female officer's arm. Lu Ni smiled as her gaze fell upon Tang Wulin. The blacksmith that you've mentioned is this handsome little boy here. Long Yushue nodded. Yes. He's new and just received his military rank recently. He's undergoing new recruit special training with me at present. He's a rather impressive blacksmith. Surprise flashed past Lu Ni's eyes. Could a new recruit be immediately ranked as a second lieutenant? She had never heard that this was possible before. Even though Tang Wulin looked young, she did not doubt his forging ability, and she spoke in a very courteous manner, please. Tang Wulin hastily returned the salute and opened the door to the forging room. Please enter, sirs. The forging room had a simple arrangement with the forging table in the center of the room, while all sorts of rare metals were placed on the metal racks on 2 sides. Most of those metals were brought by Tang Wulin himself, while there was also a portion that was given by Long Yushue. Lu Ni took a glance at the rare metals on the racks. She smiled and said, your materials are very well stocked here. I wonder what's the standard of your forging, though? Tang Wulin spoke, I can forge according to your request. Which type of metal are you looking for? Or perhaps tell me the item you wish to forge. I should be able to do it. He had not detailed his forging rank immediately because, firstly, she might not have believed him, and the other reason being he was afraid that the customer would be startled. It was better for him not to publicize too much as he was still new. On the other hand, a person's forging capability could be proven not with words but fact. A customer's good feedback would need to be accumulated through word of mouth, so it was better for him to do something rather than speak about it. You sound very confident. My request is not that difficult. There was a flash of light from Lu Ni's hand as she brandished a metal tube while she spoke. The tube was about 1 meter long with a diameter of about 10 centimeters or so. It appeared just like a gun barrel. Lu Ni spoke, this rapid-fire gun of mine was taxed a little too much, so it's a little out of shape now. Please help me to repair it. If it's possible, please help me add in a suitable metal to make it even stronger. My firing rate is quite fast, and it needs to sustain for quite a long period of time, so a good gun barrel is very important to me. Tang Wulin took a look upon receiving the metal tube. He studied the outside and then the inside. The rapid-fire gun barrel appeared to be quite normal on the surface if slightly askew, but one would discover that the tube's interior was covered with bumps and hollows. It was obviously the result of high temperatures over a long period of time. The gun barrel could not be used anymore. "Sir, how many merit points are you willing to spend for this gun barrel?" Tang Wulin asked. Lu Enai was caught off guard. She could not help smiling and spoke, "I thought you're supposed to set the price as a blacksmith." Tang Wulin answered, "That's true. However, I have a few different methods of repairing this gun barrel, and the merit points that are required vary accordingly. Simply put, it comes down to 3 methods. The first is to repair the gun barrel directly, and I'll only charge 100 merit points for that. The second is as you've mentioned. I can add in some other metal to make it even stronger. I can tell that your gun barrel's material quality is still acceptable. I think that it's made of purple irie with a high melting point. It's melted into this condition, despite its quality, so your weapon itself must be very powerful as well. Thus, I'm afraid that there's still a possibility of it getting damaged even if I were to fuse it with other metals. Hence, the third method that I'm proposing to you is that I will forge a brand new tube according to your gun barrel specifications so we can resolve the issue of overheating and melting once and for all." Lu Enai was interested in Tang Wulin's proposal. "So how much are you charging for the 2 latter methods? Are you sure that you can put an end to my gun barrel's overheating issue? I'm afraid that it's somewhat difficult. If you must know, I'm using an ultra-rapid-fire gun." Tang Wulin scratched his head and spoke, "I don't understand soul weapons very well, but I don't think that's a big issue. I'll take 1,000 merit points for the second method and at least 5,000 merit points for the third method." Lu Enai was immediately startled upon hearing Tang Wulin's quotation. 1,000 merit points were enough to do many things, while 5,000 merit points were enough to get Tang Wulin promoted from second lieutenant to first lieutenant. In her eyes, this was no small amount. "Wulin, stop joking." Long Yushue was anxious from listening to their conversation. She had a very close relationship to Lu Enai, and Lu Enai was also especially popular in the army. She first invited Lu Enai over, so she could help Tang Wulin promote his forging room. Now the price that Tang Wulin quoted was so high that she felt thoroughly embarrassed. Tang Wulin beamed with joy. His smile stupefied Long Yushue and Lu Enai to the point that their hearts were screaming, "So handsome," in unison. His sparkly clean smile felt warm like sunshine on a rainy day. "Sir, you're my first customer, so I'll help you to forge using the first method for free. You'll see my craftsmanship once I strengthen your gun barrel by over 10% without adding any metal first. If you still require my assistance using the next 2 methods in the future, then we shall discuss that further, okay?" Lu Enai looked at Tang Wulin's smile. "All right. Then I'll try the free one first." She had a very steady temperament, so she would never act rashly. She would not spend her merit points so easily just because Tang Wulin was handsome. At the same time, she wished to see how far this supremely confident young man could go with his forging ability. Tang Wulin walked to the forging table with the gun barrel in his hand. He examined the barrel cursorily before pressing a button and tossing it into the furnace within the forging table. He stretched his arm slightly as it had been some time since his last forging. He felt his chest heating up as he was already at the Saint Craftsman level. Forging was an ability that was fused into his bones and also his cherished profession. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.